In 1324, one man walked into Cairo with so much gold that he crashed the price of gold itself for over 10 years. He didn't do it on purpose, he was just that rich, and nobody in that caravan understood the economic nightmare they were about to trigger. His name was Mansa Musa, ruler of the Mali Empire. Depending on how historians calculate it, he is still considered the richest human being who ever lived. Not Rockefeller, not Musk. A 14th century West African king almost nobody outside a history class has heard of. By the time this story is over, you'll understand why that's genuinely strange. Musa controlled territory producing close to half the world's gold supply at the time. In 1324, he set out on a pilgrimage to Mecca with a caravan numbering in the tens of thousands. Soldiers, servants, and camels loaded down with gold. Along the way, he gave gold to everyone he passed, not strictly as charity, but as a demonstration of a fortune so vast it cost him nothing to give away. By the time he reached Cairo, he handed out so much gold that Arab chroniclers wrote the price fell and didn't recover for a decade. Contemporaries wrote that gold became cheaper than dirt. That isn't legend, it's contemporary historians writing in real time, stunned by what was happening to their own economy. One man in that city refused to be impressed. The reigning sultan expected Musa to pay customary respects. Musa refused to meet him at first, keeping the Sultan of Egypt waiting. Eventually, Musa relented, but only on his own terms. That's a man who knows exactly how much power he's carrying and isn't afraid to make an empire wait for it. On his way home, he brought scholars and architects back to Timbuktu, building mosques and universities that turned the city into a global intellectual center. He didn't just blow wealth on a parade, he converted raw gold into permanent cultural influence. That distinction is exactly where the next man on this list gets interesting. His name was Jakob Fugger, and he had none of Musa's advantages. No throne, no conquered gold mines. Born in Augsburg in 1459, the 10th child in a merchant family, he built his power one loan at a time. Starting with cash-strapped silver miners, by the time he was done, kings were the ones asking him for favors. By his 30s, kings and popes owed him money, the specific, uncomfortable kind of debt that makes even an emperor suddenly very polite. His family alone once covered more than half the operating budget of an entire Austrian state. Loan repayments owed to him from that one region sometimes equaled the entire annual supply of mined gold and silver. For centuries, charging interest on a loan was against church law. Fugger got the Pope himself to bend a rule that had stood since the early church, simply because it was standing in the way of his business. When kings needed cash fast, he made them wait as long as it took to negotiate terms in his favor, including emperors who technically outranked him. He financed Ferdinand Magellan's voyage around the globe, earning the nickname God's Banker. Then, in 1519, he did something no merchant had ever managed. The Holy Roman Empire needed a new emperor. Fugger financed the bribes for the 7 electors, putting Charles V on the throne. A private citizen with no crown of his own, personally selected an emperor. By his death in 1525, his fortune was estimated at roughly 2% of the entire economic output of Europe, 2% of a continent. Which brings us to the name that defined the modern industrial age, John D. Rockefeller. By 1916, Rockefeller had built Standard Oil into a monopoly so complete that the US government spent years in court trying to stop him. On May 15, 1911, the ruling came down. Standard Oil would be broken into more than 30 separate companies. Rockefeller was 72 years old, playing golf, when someone brought him the news. According to biographer Ron Chernow, he turned to his golfing partner, a priest, and told him to buy Standard Oil stock. Then he finished his round. The government spent 5 years building a case against him, and he spent 5 seconds deciding how to profit from the verdict. He was right. The breakup made him richer because he held pieces of every spin-off company, several of which still exist today. Newspapers crowned him America's first billionaire. When he started giving money away, he did it on the same scale, a single $100 million gift in 1919, worth well over $1 billion today. Economists measure wealth by what share of a nation's economy one person controlled. By that measure, Rockefeller's fortune peaked at close to 1.5% of the entire United States GDP. Raw dollars lie across time, but percentage of total control reveals true dominance. Which brings us to the modern era and the man who redefined what power looks like in the 21st century, Elon Musk. Born in South Africa in 1971, Musk didn't inherit a kingdom, a bank, or an oil empire. He built his initial capital in the early dot-com days with Zip2 and PayPal. But unlike traditional entrepreneurs who cash out and play it safe, Musk risked his entire net worth on 2 industries that established capital considered impossible to disrupt: aerospace and automotive. In the late 2000s, both SpaceX and Tesla hovered on the brink of bankruptcy. Musk poured his last remaining dollars into keeping them alive. Within a decade, SpaceX did what sovereign nations struggled to do, drastically lowering orbital launch costs and becoming the primary launch provider for NASA and global defense networks. Simultaneously, Tesla forced the entire global automotive industry to pivot toward electric vehicles. By the 2020s, Musk's paper wealth skyrocketed past hundreds of billions of dollars, making him repeatedly the richest person on Earth in nominal terms. But his real power, much like Musa's or Fugger's, went far beyond the stock price. When he acquired Twitter, he bought direct control over one of the world's primary digital public squares. His Starlink satellite network became vital telecommunications infrastructure in global conflict zones, giving a single private citizen significant influence over real-time geopolitical events. When sovereign governments want to launch military satellites, deploy global internet infrastructure, or transition national transport grids, they have to negotiate directly with his companies. He doesn't just operate within the modern economy, he builds the infrastructure that dictates where the future of technology and space exploration can go. Now look at all 4 men side by side. A West African emperor whose spending power broke a currency market for a decade, a German banker with no throne who picked the Holy Roman Emperor and rewrote papal banking rules, an American oil baron so dominant a government had to dismantle his company, only for him to profit from the breakup, and a modern tech mogul who built private infrastructure capable of influencing global geopolitics and space travel. None of them needed the title most powerful man alive to earn it. They accumulated power until the world around them had no choice but to reorganize itself to fit them. A market bent to Musa's generosity, a papacy bent to Fugger's ledger, an industry rebuilt around Rockefeller's empire, and an entire digital and physical infrastructure shaped by Musk's vision. That's the actual pattern connecting all 4. It was never just about the number on the page. It was about the moment each of them crossed a line where the normal rules simply stopped applying to them. Musa did it with a gift. Fugger did it with a loan. Rockefeller did it by losing in court. Musk did it by controlling the platform and the skies. Watch how each of those moments actually happened, frame by frame. Tell me in the comments which one of the 4 you think pulled it off with the least effort, because that's the one I'm building the next video around.